Senator Platt.
Thank you, Chair, and I apologize for being a little late for this meeting. So if you did address at least one of the questions that I have here, I apologize. But before I ask that particular question, my first one would be, do you think that not being able to vouch anymore, one of the problems that has been coming forward is that we have tremendously low voter turnout, and it's been declining. I would like your personal opinion on whether you believe that the lack of being able to vouch will in any way will that erode the voter turnout, or are there other reasons for us having low voter turnout aside from that?
Well, I did address the issue of vouching earlier, but I didn't address that question, so I think it's an important one. I'm not a political scientist, so I can't give you the view of a political scientist.
We're going to hear from them later.
I can tell you that as a matter of constitutional law, based upon my reading of the decision in Harper, the decision in Alberta and Hatarian Brethren, in reading the Henry decision, there's no doubt that the changes that are proposed in Bill C-23 would pass constitutional muster. In other words, they would not be seen by the courts to be creating a barrier that an individual could not surmount, and that would in fact be an infringement of Section 3 that was not justified in a free and democratic society. My own view as as someone who's not a political scientist is that I've seen nothing that would change my view and would in fact conflict with what I think the courts would say. In other words, I believe that the courts would find that the vouching system was not necessary in order to have full participation, and that those who want to vote will find a way to vote, and that it is not too much of a financial or other burden to require some form of ID, and I understand that it's up in the 30s, the number of different IDs that can be used.
Well, 39 to be exact. And so your opinion then would be that if somebody showed up at a polling station without one of those 39 pieces, or two, I guess, of those 39 pieces of identification, the reason would be either the individual hadn't bothered to get it, or had forgotten it at home, and not that they weren't able to get these two pieces of identification.
I can tell you as a matter of certainty, as a matter of law and of fact, that in Alberta, every single individual is entitled to a photo ID card from the Alberta government, no matter who they are, no matter where they're resident, even if they have no fixed address. Everyone can get an ID that meets, and that's just one single ID, because if it's issued by the province, that's all that's necessary. Everyone is entitled to it. Everyone can receive it. So there is no excuse other than negligence if someone is not able to vote.
Thank you. My final question, as Senator Moore just pointed out, the Chief Electoral Officer was here earlier today, and one of his concerns, seemed to be fairly high up on the list, was that the Commissioner would no longer be directly accountable to him, but rather to the Director of Public Prosecutions. Do you have any opinion on the fact that the Commissioner is being removed from being answerable or accountable directly to the Chief Electoral Officer?
My observation is that the system as it was an alternative that the courts would support. It's my view that the new model in Bill C-23 would also be something the courts would support. So my view is that Parliament will be given a broad discretion to implement a system that Parliament thinks will best ensure an election that is fair, transparent, credible, and something that can be relied upon as providing equal opportunity for all Canadians to participate in. So that's my view, and so I think it's a reasonable and valid choice, but it's not the only choice that's out there, and I think it's up to Parliament to make the decision as to what is best. And it certainly is my view that this is something that would work just as well as the current model.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other senator who wishes to ask a question before we close off? Seeing none, Mr. Chipeur, thank you very much for traveling all this distance to offer us your experience and expertise with respect to the legislation before us. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And Senators, tomorrow we're going to be back in this room at 10 a.m. for Dr. Michael Pinto-Dushinsky from Oxford via video conference. He is scheduled for 10 to 11. Our second witness tomorrow is unfortunately is not going to be available. Hopefully, Dr. Pinto-Dushinsky is, we're advised, an expert in virtually every area around what we're dealing with here. So with any luck, we can extend his appearance tomorrow, as we're going to have the additional time available. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Meeting adjourned.